So you said something the other day that was kind of fascinating. It had me thinking a little bit differently than I have typically have been thinking. So you said we were talking about what we're doing and planning and going forward, and some of these conferences we've got, and travel and things like that. And in the course of that, you said, well, maybe we've arrived.
Yes.
And it was an interesting comment, because what it pointed out to me in a way is, and I'm assuming many other people are in this similar place, is we just keep going. It's like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And sometimes we don't stop to assess where we are in relationship to where we want to be. And so your comment was really interesting, because we were talking about the context of retirement, and I don't understand that word. It doesn't fit in my reality. But in the context of people retiring, and where are they when they arrive at their retirement, we're at a place where at our age we've had numbers of goals and set things in motion, and really have had kind of a great adventure in a lot of ways. And yet the conversation was, how do we do this? How do we do that? We're going to do some traveling. And you said, well, maybe we should look at it as if we have arrived.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really an interesting concept. So what it really says is, here I am. I have arrived. I'm right here. I exist right here. But in the context of that, many people, and in that piece for me, I was moving forward. I was kind of saying, well, we need to, or we have to kind of take a look at how we're living in the next 10 years, 5 years. But I suspect probably many other people have never assessed, I have arrived right here, and where am I in relationship to my goals and my desires and things like that. And in our case, I realized, wow, we have actually accomplished much of what we set in motion, but I was not recognizing it as accomplishment.
And I think I've arrived doesn't mean I'm finished.
Or I'm successful.
Right.
It just simply says, I've arrived right here. And in right here, how do I assess where I am? And in some cases, where we were talking about doing some things, we have in fact arrived at that objective that we were talking about. And in a way, everything that I was talking about was work. It was like, oh, let's keep going. And do we need to accomplish this? And it was really actually very relieving. It's like, gee, I can sit back and not have to do, because we've already accomplished, or we've succeeded or satisfied a particular circumstance.
For me, it was kind of a exhale, a relief, sort of, and it was an appreciation for what we've done in our lives. And I don't think people in general, us especially, take the time to evaluate where I am, what I've accomplished, and if where I'm living right now is actually my present time goals. Maybe they were goals 10 years ago, but and they brought me to this arrival spot. Pausing, I think, and reevaluating, is that still my goal?
Right.
Is real important.
Yeah. And it's not about, am I successful? Did I succeed? It really gives you a reference point to simply say, okay, here I am. What can I do? And in some cases, and I've had this conversation with many people, but I haven't put it in this context, people have accomplished their goals, they're still going after the goals, and sometimes they are feeling frustrated because they're working so hard. But in fact, they've accomplished what they set out to accomplish, but haven't really said, am I satisfied? There's another part of that where we very seldom celebrate.
Yeah.
You do things all day long and you accomplish what you set out to do all day long, whether it's wash the dishes. But very seldom do we stop and say, whoa, good job. I've successfully washed the dishes. And it's a silly little game, and I've played it often at different points in my life, but walk around and say, good job, I'm successful, and do the next thing, good job, I'm successful. It actually creates both an amusement and a rush of endorphins in the body that says, I am successful. And we're successful all day long, far, far more than we are incomplete.
And I think recognizing the tiny successes kind of opens the door for the bigger successes.
Sure.
And we're having those bigger successes. We people just don't recognize it. We're so moving forward and we're on this, got to do this thing. If we consider, pause, where am I? Oh, look what I've accomplished. I've to some degree, I've arrived and I've achieved my wantings, my goals.
And I think the point, though, is being in present time, here I am, and assessing. And assessing is some of these things have worked, some of these things have not worked, but do I need to keep doing some of these things? Or am I really okay just simply recognizing, in some cases, I've been doing this and it doesn't support me, or it isn't necessary anymore, and I can let it go.
Yeah.
But that moment of assessing and looking at it from, well, I've arrived right here. Here I am, right here. How do I go about assessing where do I go? A lot has changed in people's realities, and much of the changing is not at their doing. The economy shifts, or the politics shift, or the company moves, or whatever it is. And we take some of those things as, I have a problem.
Right.
Well, maybe if you assess right at that same place, do I need this? Can I adjust this? Instead of keep pushing forward, can I move around this? And I know I do and I don't do that in some ways. But that comment, oh, I've arrived, gave me pause. In our case, where we've been successful in many cases, it gave me room to simply accept the success and not have to keep going at that project or whatever it may be. And that was actually a very freeing construct to now say, okay, what do I want to do? In a way where it's what I want to do is this, but I have to do this. I let go of the but.
That's the piece I was just going to comment on, that we people might have a tendency to say, I've arrived, but I haven't, I'm still not a millionaire, I'm still not rich and famous, but, and I think that really destroys the appreciation of what you have accomplished in that pause.
And there's another piece to this. A lot of what I'm supposed to be accomplishing isn't you're supposed to. And so in this, here I am, what am I about allows me to really, in all the tools of Mastering Alchemy, give you room to pause and assess and recognize that, gee, still, I've been doing this and it's not my wanting. There's a whole piece I'm watching of a kind of a veneer, a layer that is beginning to remove itself or come to the surface. And I'm watching people in general, people walking around on the street, pushing really hard to accomplish, to succeed, to do, and it's not their doing. And yet it's what I'm supposed to do. The world says, the culture says, the society says, my mom, dad says. But in this place of here I am, you're really taking a good look at that, because the world is about to go through some relatively significant changes in the next 5-7 years. And if you're holding yourself accountable to, and your success or failure is based on, supposed to, the odds are you're creating some disturbance in your reality that is not a necessary disturbance.
Another piece that we can talk about maybe tomorrow or next week is along that line is when you pause and you say, I've arrived, and then what I did is I looked around my life and discovered there's so much stuff that is no longer in present time. And so next week, let's talk about stuff.
Okay.
And how it affects you maybe, and what we've been doing around our stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and stuff is, well, that'll be fun because I've been looking at this shirt that I bought once. I have never worn the shirt. I like the shirt, but I've never worn it.
Yeah.
It just hangs in my closet. I bet it's been hanging in my closet 6, 7, 8 years.
Oh my gosh. I've probably never seen it. I haven't
I've never worn
seen
it. I've never worn it. I don't think I've ever worn it.
Yeah, let's do that
okay,
next week. Let's talk about stuff.
So kind of take a look at, I'm here, I'm fine, and how do I take a look at what's going on with myself? I've arrived right here.
I've arrived.
So,
I'm here.
So,
Good one.
okay, fun.